us to give it to the city instead of the city. I would rather the city pass it income tax, add a little more in the county, the 2.55 up to 2.85. I've heard that by
Have you been golfing, Doug?
Shakeman is what.
I haven't played since this afternoon.
Is it nice out there? I haven't been
I
out
just
there.
didn't know if it was worth the conversation or
It'd
consideration.
be better to
You guys
ask
have
what
much
days
more
I've not
history on
played.
that than I do, to see if.
According to my wife.
Is it still busy out there?
Or if that just
It was
goes
today
away.
because they had an outing.
The other problem I had.
Greg
I still
Kitz's
have,
daughter is
very
getting
bad taste
married
in my
to,
mouth.
Sophia.
Yeah, the freshwater
Because
boy,
we
one of the
love
twins.
them.
They had it out there?
And
No, they had a golf outing today out there.
$700
Wedding, I think, is
This Saturday,
And
yeah.
then just laughed at us.
And then Trinity's getting married.
That's my way of getting pilot, but he wouldn't support it.
July.
Who
When it
is?
came up to do
Trinity,
reality,
her cousin.
I
Shane and
said,
Jennifer
"Send the
Pitts
website
is-
to them." And it went on for 4 or 5 years. And then
Greg told me that Heather has breast cancer.
That what?
That Heather, his wife, has breast cancer.
So we just basically funneled the city money.
Because they got the weddings this weekend, says she's lost her hair and now she's losing
Well,
At
her.
least
I'll
that
be on this
conversation.
board in another year.
I wonder why I haven't seen her
Well,
at the
but
G.
your input is incredibly valuable
Yeah,
in
it's
setting us up for the future too, so I respect
But
that.
she just went through that stuff with,
history that you have.
Eddie Blynn's daughter.
Yeah, we asked the question because I'm like, what are our options on the table, so.
Man, that's scary.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had no idea.
I didn't-
Annie Rebellion had a complete mastectomy,
Line back up.
Really?
double mastectomy,
She's got,
because she carried, I don't know if she's had it, but she carried the genes.
okay.
She was basically guaranteed to get it. That's a courageous decision.
Yeah, definitely.
We just crossed over to 5:30.
Okay.
Okay, we have a quorum. Ladies and gentlemen, time to call the meeting to order at the Marion Utility Service Board and begin the meeting as usual with the roll call.
Christy Barney,
Here,
Doug Carl,
Here,
Isaiah Fuller, Al Green, Herschel Lewis, Bob Logan,
Here.
Jay Montero.
here.
Okay. Introduction of guests, we have Brianna with us from the Chronicle again. You're becoming a regular, glad to have you along. And of course, our attorney, Kyle Persinger, always glad to have him along here with our meeting. Any consideration of agenda modifications, additions, corrections, etc.? Hearing nothing, we will adopt the agenda as previously presented. Need a motion to approve the minutes of our meeting, April the 17th.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor with aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Financials, Tiffany, front and center.
Greetings. I'd like to present the March 2025 financials to the board. Good news is sales for all utilities were consistent with prior years. Solid waste continues to experience an increase in March sales compared to prior years. Again, that's due to the implementation of the rate increase that we had last fall. Water and sewer also had the increase over prior year as expected when January 1st increases were implemented. On the expense side, operations and maintenance expenses were lower for all utilities this March than in prior years, and this contributed mainly due to a reduction in contractual services. Overall, there's a positive cash flow prior to debt services for all utilities. The solid waste has the annual capital debt payment, also known as the equipment lease, which was recorded in March this year versus February. So the solid waste cash flow is negative as expected in the month the debt service is paid. And that's all I have to report for the month of March.
Okay. Any questions of anybody on the financials as we have them presented? Hearing no questions, I'll ask for a motion that we adopt the financials as presented for the month of March 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor with aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you for the financials. Old business, projects, Mr. Pinkerton.
Okay, so the next level trails, that's the Cardinal Greenway being connected to the Riverwalk. The portions that we were involved in as far as the sewer, the storm sewer and the water lines have been completed. I think I told you this a couple meetings ago, but they with some of the lead service lines that we were having to take care of in that area, they actually found a dozen more lead service lines that needed to be disconnected as they were peeling back the sidewalk. These abandoned meter settings started popping up. Somebody put a sidewalk over the top of them. And I think there was about 5 more meters, service lines that they had to replace in there too, that they ran across. So instead of 103,000, it ended up being about 148,000, I think, for that. I've had a meeting with USI and the county highway. USI is designing a new bridge over Boots Creek at 14th Street. And we've got a water main that goes through the abutment of that bridge. So we're gonna be working with them over the next few months, and we'll probably have to design the improvements to the water main. So we'll end up, they'll probably take our design and make it part of their plans in the long run. They weren't comfortable designing the water main, and I'm not comfortable designing the bridge, so we'll cooperate.
Sounds like a good plan. You do what you do, don't do what you don't do.
As far as the SRF projects go, we are in the middle of, I've submitted some of the final paperwork for the distribution project, the main replacements for Watson. And we'll get the rest of that in the next few days. The lead service line project out at 20th and Adams in that area, those lines are all complete now, and we'll be meeting with the paving company next week to schedule the paving. So that's coming to completion there too, which means there will be a bucket load of paperwork to complete for the SRF. And then Chad got the other two.
Yeah. We're coming to a close on the tank projects. They completed the work on the Meridian tank. They submitted their final payment for both the Meridian and the Butler tank. So their punch list items have been completed. Now it's just a matter of wrapping up the paperwork for the SRF. Both tanks look real good. It's been a long time coming. It makes me happy to look at it.
Yes.
Yeah, at least 2 of the 3 tanks in town are recently painted and updated
The
and,
third one just got washed, so they're looking sharp.
was it? Wow.
And they all match now.
They all match.
They all
They
match.
all have the logo on them as well. They all look like they're the same, have the same mold.
So how often is those done?
The lifespan is supposed to be between 20 and 30 years, if all things go well. So, and we've had that, but we've had them where they fail sooner too, so it's.
The logo lasts that long?
Yeah, it'll fade out a little bit. It'll usually stay there. Then the meter project, it's moving along. They've got 7,616 meters installed, out of the approximately 11,000 they have to do. So they're well on their way. They have 7 installers in town, so they're moving right along.
Is there a time frame of having those things done? Is there a time frame or schedule that you're looking at?
Yeah, substantial completion was June 30th.
June 30th? Okay. Good. Any question of these 2 gentlemen on projects, where we are, where we stand with these at this stage of the activity?
Pat, do you know what they're doing on the bridge on North River down here?
Not officially. I think they're painting, maybe they're painting the steel underneath or something, would be my guess. I don't know, they just showed up and blocked things off.
At least they didn't block it off totally.
Right. Okay. Moving on, item B, 3202 Hammaker and 3622 South House Street. Customer requests. Misty, you're on.
Yes, at our last meeting, we had a couple of customer requests assigned to the Water Committee for review. The first request at 3622 Houck Street, that is a property that's owned by Marion Housing Authority. They had a tenant there that did not put the services in her name as required, and they did not discover this until they got a large bill that flagged their system. As it turned out, the tenant had a leak where the tank attaches to the toilet. You know, and toilet leaks are not adjustable, but they were asking for an exception. We did have a request similar to this in the past. And with that one, the organization, which was also a not-for-profit, was directed to apply for assistance from the H2O Community Fund. And so that same recommendation would be offered in this case. The second request was for 3202 South Hamaker Street. The owner of this property actually lives in Oklahoma, and we found this out when she called in on December 20th of 2024 to change her mailing address. The old meter was changed out to a new cam strut meter on January 27th. And when that was done, we were able to catch that there was some illegal usage at the property, meaning that the services had been turned on and not by anyone from the utilities. So the last time the meter was read while having service turned on or off by a utility staff member was actually in 2012. Ms. Smith has been the owner since October 30th of 2023. So a little over a year and some months that she has been the owner of this property with the services being on. So we had talked, and what we had did was we only billed her for the 263 cubic feet that was actually used while she was the owner. We didn't charge her for any monthly fees or certainly anything before she owned the property. Ms. Smith, she wanted a little bit more. She was asking that we actually write off all of the charges from the time that she owned the property and their usage moving forward. And then she wanted us to remove the smart meter. We had explained to her that we can't remove the smart meter because that helps to meter any water loss that we might have, and it also helps to alert us of any illegal usage. And while she said that she appreciates, you know, our concern for her and her property, she really just doesn't want that meter in there. So our recommendation was that we not remove the cam strut meter, that we keep the cam strut meter installed, especially since there's already been some illegal usage, and that we do not want to waive the charges, but we would offer to make extended arrangements with her that would, you know, make something affordable for her in order to pay down the balance.
How much was that, Bob?
$817.68.
Is that a rental?
I'm sorry.
Is that a rental?
Well, yes, there's actually 2 units on that property. She says that 3202, where the illegal usage was, is uninhabitable, but she has renters in 3202 and a half. So usually when we see something like this that's happened in the past, it's usually the unit that's occupied. If they lose services, they will just tap into the other meter so that they can still have water. At least that's been our experience.
Any questions of the recommendation that we just heard? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt the recommendation of the Water Committee of the 2 properties that sent in their requests.
So move.
Second.
All in favor with aye?
Aye.
Motion carried. Any opposed? Thank you. We'll move forward with that. Those are never fun, but that's part of, I guess, our duty that we get to look at those situations. Okay, new business, transfer and pay requests. I would assume we have, it's all in paperwork yet, with all the projects that you 2 described. we're gonna have some money at some point, but it's still tied up in paperwork at this point.
Yes.
Okay. So we move on to the sponsorship requests. We had a boatload of those the last time. And if,
Not quite as many.
not
this
quite
time.
as many, not quite as many this time.
It's that time of year.
Sponsorship season.
So we only have 2 this time.
Oh,
The first one is from the Grant County Rescue Mission. They are having their annual golf scramble, and they are requesting that we be a sponsor for that event. You can see the different levels of sponsor there. We were a whole sponsor for the walkway of lights. That was agreed to at the last meeting, and that was $100. A whole sponsor here is $500. I ran the numbers just to make sure that we have everything accounted for, and we do. So far this year, out of our $2,500 budget, $1,400 has been donated. So there is $1,100 left for the remainder of the year.
What
How
do
much we normally donate to $250.
We usually do $250. Really the only exception to that has been the Babe Ruth League, because we typically sponsor a team, and that's a $300 sponsorship.
We did $250 last year.
Yes,
to this group, we did 250.
yes.
What did we then get for that, since it doesn't meet any of those categories of either radio mention, banner, and all the way down to the whole sponsor?
They said that we could also provide items for the gift bags, but we could also provide some print material for them to set out at that event as well.
Okay.
We would not have a yard sign or anything like that, but we would have some recognition at the event.
Okay. Now, you said we had 2 of them?
Yes. The second one that we have is from the VFW. They are getting ready to put together their annual booklet of agencies, services that can be of assistance, and they have a couple of different ads. They're asking if we would help sponsor them by running an ad in their booklet, so you can see the different sizes of ads and the cost over on the left. The pictures on the right, the top one, that is what a fourth of an ad would look like. The Angels of Mercy Home Care ad, that's an eighth, and then the bottom one is what a third of a page would look like.
So the 4th is in our price range, right?
Yes,
The 250?
yes, it's actually a little bit cheaper, it's $239.50.
Did we do this last year?
No, we have not.
What does this sponsorship go towards?
It goes towards some of their sponsorships and programs they put on for the veterans of foreign wars. They provided a booklet here. They do some classroom education. They also do a teacher of the year, a scout of the year, and then they do a Patriots pin. Here's a kind of a short booklet. I say short, but 6 pages that they provided to us about some of the things that they do with the funds that are raised. A lot of it will go towards transportation costs. When we had emailed back and forth with the young man who had sent this in, he had said a lot of it, they will go towards helping some of the veterans who are disabled and stuff get around if they are having trouble finding services, or if the schedule wouldn't permit them to get on the established service.
Yeah, since the VA provides transportation to every veteran.
Is this one location, or is this the total VFW program?
This was submitted by our local VFW, but it would go out at least to Grant County. I believe that they maybe have some others that come in to our local VFW, maybe from other counties, but this booklet in particular will be sent out countywide.
So we,
Corporate partnerships to assist with unmet needs, mortgage and rent, home and auto repairs, insurance, utilities, food and clothing. Any unanticipated financial demands for service members. So it essentially goes, part of it is going into a fund, and a service member can apply for a grant.
So basically what we're gonna be doing is helping veterans through the VFW as they need it for whatever service that's gonna be there
Yes.
with it. And in recognition of that, we will get an ad in their magazine,
Yes,
or their flyer, or whatever you wanna call that.
yes.
Okay. That summarizes it pretty well with what
Yes,
it is.
you did an excellent job.
No, don't go there. I'm just trying to make sure I understand what it is we're doing with it.
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah, okay.
I like that program, it literally, like unmet needs, it's like the perfect word for it.
It's a great one.
There isn't anything for that. For the Grant County Rescue Mission, is that the only sponsorship that they ask for throughout the year? Because they do quite a few
No.
fundraisers.
We have previously sponsored them with their Walk a Mile event, and we did a $250 donation there.
Did we this year?
Yes, yes, it was in February of this year.
Sorry, I forgot who else.
That's okay. We've had a lot.
Yeah.
For usually this time in the year, we haven't had as many as
Yeah.
we have this year. I think we're getting on the list.
Do we anticipate more between now and the year end? We're just in May.
Yeah.
And-
I would.
And my concern is if we spend all of our budget now, when we get to Labor Day, Thanksgiving time, near the end of the year, when some others are doing major projects, we'll say, we've shot our budget already.
Does our policy say per organization or per event?
Per event, yeah. Of that 250.
It doesn't.
It doesn't say.
It just says 250.
I mean, it's a great organization, but I think I'm hearing what some of you are saying is that we're almost out of money in this May.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
And
given
we
to
do
the same
that.
Yeah,
organization
you've already given to them once.
more than once.
I like the VFW.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if we backed off on the rescue mission, since we've already contributed, and said, let's do the a 1/4 page ad, the $239.50 one to the VFW?
So moved.
As a, we got a
Second.
motion for that?
Second.
Motion and a second. Did we get who got what? I mean, if that was a one by one person or two people, or
I moved, Christie seconded.
Christie seconded, okay.
For the VFW.
For the
For the
VFW
VFW
only,
and not for.
and not
Rescue
for
Mission.
the Grant County Rescue Mission. Okay, all in favor of the motion then as presented signify with aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. We still got a little more money left to spend, so when we can have some more, we'll do it. Okay. Linefield Drainage Project, Chad. Again,
That's actually pretty bad.
oh, misprint? Or
Yes.
you flip it off?
Curveball.
It's really
Curveball.
rock, paper, scissors.
Chad
rock,
was out
paper,
that
scissors.
day and Pat
They
wasn't
flipped
in
a
his
coin
office, so I guess wrong.
and Chad won.
So this was a budgeted project this year, and the intent of it was, and it's over here at the water plant, the area where they process the spent line, where they pull it out of the lime sludge lagoon and put it on the ground over here and let it dry. The intent of it was to not allow the stormwater runoff to take any of that lime into the creek. So it ends up being about a 260-foot, 24-inch storm sewer that we're installing there, and taking it back to the existing lift station, which will then pump it into the lime sludge lagoon, and then the water can discharge from the lime sludge lagoons where it's permitted. So we advertised it, we bid it. That's the next slide. We had 4 companies respond. Days Excavating came in at $80,878. Bragg Excavating came in at $96,984.60, and Watson came in at $96,600 even. Keith Sullivan, they quoted the incorrect pipe material. We were calling for SDR 35 on the plans, and they quoted us polypropylene, which didn't meet the spec. So, all things told here, I'd recommend awarding it to Dave's Excavating.
What do we budget for it?
We budgeted $75,000 out of the capital expenditures out of wastewater.
Any thought when two of them are right at almost the same thing at 96,000 or so, and then one's way down at 80,000? Hopefully somebody didn't miss something or anything. You got two of them are almost right on.
Yeah, we talked to Dave's and no, they had a good understanding of the
Okay,
project.
we're good. Okay. So you're right.
Where will the rest come from? So we're about 6,000 short, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah,
So where will that rest come from?
From the budget.
5878 over budget. 5878 over budget.
Oh,
Yeah, we will find a way to make that work within the water budget. Part of the situation that's brought this on is that even though we've functioned in the same capacity over there with these same processes for literally decades, IDEM switched some inspectors on us, and a new person came in and said, you can't do that. And so this is a project that, like, the state is saying you have to do this. So we have to figure out a way to recoup that. The 75,000 that we put in the budget was a conservative estimate. We knew that to begin with, just as we were working with the budgets and some constraints that we had. So there was, in all fairness though, that $80,000 mark, I was encouraged by that.
That's pretty darn close.
I was thankful that it wasn't six-digit figures, so, yeah.
So when do we have to have this done?
As soon as possible. They've been gracious about the timeline so far, but they want to see that happen as quickly as we can. There will be another piece to this puzzle too down the road when, instead of allowing the runoff from the lime lagoons or the discharge from the lime lagoons to go into that same ditch, we either have a choice to make where we perform extra treatment processes on that lime before it exits to the ditch, or we attempt to take the effluent to the sanitary sewer. The sanitary sewer is, in the long run, going to be the better choice and the more cost-effective. We'll have a little bit more time on that one. So, all part of that same kind of mandate from IDEM.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion then to adopt Dave's excavating at the 80,000, what is it, 878? That as the project is presented.
So moved.
second.
All in favor with aye? Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the work of going through that process with it. Ready to move on to leadership reports. Executive Assistant, Ms. Steve, you're number one. First off.
So you may remember earlier in the year when we were battling those cold temperatures and we were asking everyone to please let their faucets drip. We have our final numbers in. So we processed 262 drip adjustments. That totaled $17,492.61, which that was an average of about $70.86 per request. We also had some adjustments due to leaks where, there was damage to the cold weather, the ground flexing, maybe not letting faucets drip. That total, there was 89, and the total for that was $54,643.84. The average per adjustment was $613.98. So this is why we always say, please let your faucets drip. There's a big difference between that 17,000 and the 54,000. Yeah. All in all together though, we processed 351 adjustments for a grand total of $72,136.45. So we're hoping not to see as big of a number next year.
We hope.
Yes.
Okay.
And then lastly, I would just like to give a shout out to our customer service and administrative staff. They participated in Cancer Services Walk of Hope and represented the utilities well. So just wanted to thank those who participate in those community events. It's a worthwhile event, and we're happy to have people participating.
Sure. Let the board know the board appreciates their participation in community service activities like that. Okay. Okay. Mr. Pinkerton.
So the transfer station saw 937 tons of solid waste for the month of April, and that's about 52 tons a day. Pretty reasonable.
And everything's going smoothly in solid waste and keeping it going? Or did I say the wrong thing, ask the wrong comment? And recycling is keeping everything going?
It's like mentioning a main break
A
in the
main break,
wintertime.
oh, okay.
Distribution.
Okay. I'll stay off of that and make,
We just had a few truck issues this
Yeah,
week.
there actually was a Monday, one day this week, all three of our roll-off trucks were down for one reason or another. But they got them running enough that they were able to still make the trips to the landfill. But, yeah, and the loader is down, and that may be an engine rebuild.
that'll take a little time, won't it, to do an engine rebuild?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it's definitely time to be looking. As soon as we make that last lease payment on the solid waste
Solid
equipment, we're looking at replacing.
And when did we make that last lease payment on that? Is that next year?
spring?
In 26.
26, a year from now? Because I thought they were set up on
Probably
annual
don't make that
payments.
I'm sorry. what
We're
was that?
getting there.
Annual payments? Are they not?
Yeah.
They're annual.
We're not out of Band-Aids yet.
Sometimes those Band-Aids cost more money, end up costing
Yeah.
more money.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. You don't get it done. Okay.
Mhm.
Anything else?
Is the number of participants increasing at the recycling center?
That seems to be staying pretty steady, but I mean, it's busy. I mean, typically over 100 a day
Oh,
going through there. Sometimes, well above that.
Do they actually count the number of people that go through there per day or not?
Not so much anymore. I mean, at first they had counters going
Had counters going.
and stuff. Now it's more estimates.
That's what.
Yeah.
We
It's-
could though, I mean, it's on camera, so
Because on camera, okay.
we have the ability to do that.
You have the ability on camera
Maybe
to
we
do
should
it.
live feed that.
Well, we'll have to change what we do over there, maybe if we're on camera.
So,
Like beat it. Okay, we're moving on. Mr. Geyer.
Well,
Chad, you're up.
slide. Robin kind of talked about it. Our high school tank now matches our new tanks. We had to give it a bath.
Okay. Oh,
We had a company come in out of Illinois, and they get about a day and a half worth of washing, and then they put a antimicrobial chemical on it, if you will, like a wax almost, to help keep that growth down. So if you're going down to bypass, you look over, she looks a little brighter now.
okay, good. Good to know that we have all three bright and shining and well positioned and cleaned up in good shape. Okay. Robin, you're next.
Yeah, just a couple of things. First off, we had requested some time for an employee appreciation breakfast, and we had that last week, and it was a big hit. We did something a little bit fun. I mean, our folks do stressful things all the time. We ask them for miracles with not enough money and people and time and all of that, and to work in nasty conditions and stuff. And so it's really nice to be able to say thank you to them with that breakfast. And of course, the food was amazing as usual, but we played a little game. We asked everybody to nominate folks for utility superlatives, things like best hat hair, dirtiest uniform. Let's see, there's probably about a dozen different categories, and so it was a good time to just kind of laugh a little bit together. And so thank you for giving us the opportunity to do that. The centrifuge is going fairly well. I know there's a little bubble earlier today, but that's kind of a landmark piece of equipment for us to be able to dewater our biosolids and For most people, that's probably not a happy thing, but this is awesome for us. So thank you for that. And the switchgear change out is still in process, but we haven't blown anything up yet. And that's good news. So, and I too want to give a shout out to some folks in our customer service group again. We had an emergency situation with a customer this week, and they handled that like pros. We were able to call the paramedics and get that situation going the right direction. So that was awesome. And I think that's it.
Make sure the board comments on the appreciation of the very quick customer service representative's response, reaction, and the professional manner in which they discharged their duties. Very good. Okay. Board member comments.
Thank you for supporting the walkway lights. Appreciate that. And that, if you want to go off of that, it's September 5th. You just email me or call me.
What is September the 5th?
It's our walkway
Walkway.
lights golf scramble.
Oh, golf scramble, okay.
It's $50 a person or $200 a team. I couldn't believe that we don't do nothing like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just lowballing it. I couldn't imagine asking people for that money. $5,000 for a sponsor?
Dream big.
You don't ask, you don't get. Start
Right.
big.
I
Start
know, but I
big.
feel like all I do is
You
ask.
Gotta do, ask for money.
Maybe ask less people with bigger amounts.
Okay, I don't know if any of you attended Earth Day or not, but soon after we had our last board meeting, we had Earth Day. I went out there, it was a very well attended, there were a lot of booths. It was very active, the utility employees were very responsive, they were very visible. We've been a group that we could say, wow, we're really proud of this group for the way they handled themselves, presented themselves, and did an outstanding job at Earth Day. With that. We're looking forward to the next meeting being 2 weeks, June the 5th. After that, we're looking at something a little different. 2 weeks is Juneteenth, a legal holiday. So we're looking to maybe then move the second meeting of June to June the 26th, which would be 3 weeks.
I'll be in the Virgin Islands on the 26th.
Unexcused absence.
We can all go with you.
Yeah.
Or you take us along with you, yeah.
So I won't be here.
Okay.
Sounds like we got a new location.
Okay. Then in July, the first meeting would be Thursday, July the 3rd. We're gonna postpone that meeting because we know nobody will be around here on July the 3rd, and they'll make it the 10th, and then 2 weeks later will be the 24th. So just to kind of bring you up to date on what we're looking at for calendar-wise, that's what we're looking at during that time period.
Executive session.
And also then on June the 26th, that meeting, we're looking to have an executive session for that. In case you may be aware or not aware, meetings, public meetings after July the 1st, and maybe Mr. Persinger can talk more about that, is that they have to legally be streamed. Then,
I think you guys are exempt. I did look at that since you don't meet in normal chambers, but I'll reconfirm that.
Reconfirm that,
I did look
okay.
at that. I don't know if you guys are planning, I mean, you can, it's just whether you're mandated or not.
sure, we were planning towards moving that because of the mandate.
We were under the impression that we were going to be
Impression,
mandated for that. We do have the capabilities. Matter of fact, we're doing a test run right now.
Yeah.
The reason that we thought that was because we have a separate budget that was approved, so maybe that'll help with your research.
Well, I looked at it, because I've looked at it for a number of other entities, including small, because I assumed you would be, but my conclusion is you weren't, because you have to be a town, a school, or a county, or meet in one of those facilities, that you meet in a separate facility. I mean, I think you're exempt, but I mean, that mandate's different than if you want to voluntarily, you're open to doing such.
That'd be the board's
Yeah,
decision.
that'd be the board, that'd be something we would discuss, but then if you can make sure, give us that opinion that,
Sure.
at our next meeting, that, yeah, hey, in your legal opinion, and we do not have to comply with that, then that may dictate, that may decide, hey, maybe we don't need that exec session or anything to move forward with that, depending on what we want to do or things at that time.
If we're not mandated, I would, because we say personal customer information, their addresses in some situations, and I feel like that is private. Sometimes when you live stream things or you take something like social media, then it gives, sadly, the public an opportunity to bash them or judge them, and I would, if we're not required, I would say let's not do it, but, I mean, we can talk about that later.
You got the number already.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
You know me.
When
I'm
we
speaking up now.
When we discuss two resident addresses here, if anybody wanted to hear those and be aware of them, that puts it out on very public notice of what those things are. And I would not be comfortable doing that, and just say we have two residential addresses of having this, but not actually name them in our meeting per se.
Yeah, that's.
I think we'd have to be very, very careful of what went on, because it could, you know, the information could be used unintentionally for not good things.
Yeah, we don't need more of that, we need more of that.
And we don't need it if we are not required to do it.
Right.
I mean, that brings up another point too, because our minutes are in, you can go on the city's website and get our minutes, which has that information in there. If somebody really wanted to go in and.
For privacy purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might look at that. What are the legal implications of that?
We actually have to, I have to type the minutes verbatim.
Right.
Per the state law, but there are other towns where they are actually required to discuss delinquencies and requests in front of the board individually. And in some of those, the customers actually have to be present and make their requests verbally in front of everyone. That usually happens in some of the smaller towns. Years ago, I believe Jonesboro used to do something like that. I don't know what they do currently.
So we can maybe double check that.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. Hearing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment with our next meeting then scheduled 2 weeks in June the 5th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor with aye?
Aye.
We're legally adjourned. At least we don't have to go home tonight and watch a couple of us. And the Pacers are on the way to